Hey friends, my name is Richie and welcome back to my channel Gender Not Found. So, I'm doing a quick recording before we go to bed, and today I have two different stories from the same subreddit, Today I Fucked Up, from the same author, and these are some of the most interesting posts I've found on Reddit. I'll let you be the judge. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and anyway, we're gonna read this post. And you guys can judge for yourselves because I don't know what to make of this. Okay, the first post. Today I fucked up by admitting to my girlfriend that I pretend she is a giant cockroach when we have sex. Ever since I was a teenager, I have had very intense fantasies about having sex with a giant roach. It started in ninth or 10th grade when we read The Metamorphosis by Frank Kafka. As I started to think more and more about the roach creature that the character had become, I started to imagine what it would be like if a woman turned into the roach instead. I found this idea very arousing. I would not be repulsed or frightened of her, as the characters in the story are. I would take care of her. Then my thoughts started to get sexual with the character. Eventually, I sort of dropped the bit about her having been a human woman first, and I kind of imagined this fictionalized roach species. They are giant roaches, the size of a person, and have complete intelligence. I kind of over time conjured up an imaginary friend of sorts. She was one of those roaches, and her name was Ogtha. I would fantasize about her often. Whenever I masturbated, I'd be imagining elaborate scenarios of me and Ogtha making love. When I started to have actual sex, I found I could not perform if I wasn't thinking of Ogtha. So basically now, anytime I have sex with a woman, I am pretending that she is actually Ogtha. Not just think about Ogtha, I concentrate intently to visualize that I'm actually am doing Ogtha. I don't want to think about the girl at all. There was only Ogtha. Of course, this sex can never be as exciting as my fully imaginary sessions with Ogtha. There are things that her multiple appendages and antennae allow for that a human woman can never match. So, anyways, I've been in a relationship with my girlfriend for about a year. 3 or 4 times I have tried to have sex with her and not pretend she is Ogtha, but I just can't do it. So, essentially, every time we have sex, I am imagining she is Ogtha. I finally confided this to her the other day, and I was blown away by her reaction. I thought she might take it a bit badly at first, but that she'd get used to it. No, I have never seen such a look of disgust before. Outraged is not an understatement. She is not even returning my texts now. I am afraid she is actually going to break up with me, and also that is going to tell people about Ogtha. I don't know how I will face anyone. This is going to sound silly, but I also feel guilty about feeling shame, as if Ogtha will be saddened by this, even though I know she is imaginary. I just don't know what to do at this point. Edit. The Reddit user Sae1 was kind enough to speak my post into a YouTube video. He asked I put it in my post. I did this because I do think an audio can be good. I do appreciate being placed on YouTube. One sec. Alright. Now we are going to. Alright. Now we are going to read the sequel of sorts, which is from the same guy. Today I fucked up by admitting to my coworkers that my wife Ogtha is an imaginary giant roach. An update of sorts to my prior Today I fucked up from 5 years ago. Hello. 5 years ago, I submitted the story of me telling my then girlfriend that when we made love, I was envisioning her as a giant roach. The gist of the backstory is that ever since I was a teenager, I have fantasized in my head of making love to a roach the size of a person. Eventually, I concocted an entire backstory and personality for this imaginary roach, who I named Ogtha. Whenever I would engage in private, pleasurable deeds, if you know what I mean, I would imagine in my head vivid and elaborate scenarios with Ogtha. It got to be that I could not perform with an actual partner unless I pretended they were Ogtha. You might think of the scene in Blade Runner 2049, which my original Today I effed up predates, by the way, where the main character makes love to a prostitute, but his hologram girlfriend kind of holograms over the body of the actual person, so he can pretend he is making love to his hologram. That is what it was like with me and Ogtha, but instead of a hologram, it was just my imagination. In the 5 years, In the 5 years that have passed since this topic was posted, I decided to stop fooling myself and I just committed to the love of Ogtha. I know she is not real per se, but in my head she is an actual personality, and I am in love with that personality. I don't care if she is a roach or if she is imaginary, the love is real. Call me deluded, but it's harmless. It makes me happy. I have not had a real girlfriend again since that incident 5 years ago, but occasionally I have had one night stands via online apps with the understanding of it being one night in advance. And on those times, I always envisioned the woman as Ogtha, my sensual roach queen. Now, I mean no offense to the women, of course, and even a gentleman once or twice. The many appendages of Ogtha make translation to human gender almost irrelevant. I just envision they are Ogtha, and no, haha, I've never confided to them about it. I learned my lesson. The thing about it, though, is that I became so in love with my Ogtha that I married her. I even did a little ceremony in my living room. I recited my own vows and she recited hers. I even went on a honeymoon, which technically you could say was a solo vacation to New Orleans for a week, but in my mind, Ogtha was with me the entire time. In my mind, I think of her as my wife. Now, here's why I fucked up. Sorry, hang on. Now, here's why I fucked up. I got so used to thinking of her as my wife in my head that a few months ago at work I nonchalantly said my wife in some innocuous sentence. I think it was something like, oh yeah, me and my wife love that show in regards to Chopped. So now everyone was asking me about my wife because they had never heard I was married or even dating anyone. Everyone kept pestering me, wanting to know about her, wanting to see pictures. I became full of panic. I did the one thing I swore I would never do again. I talked to other people about Ogtha in real life. We were at a team lunch, and I just let it all spill out. I told them about how I became enamored as a teenager with the Franz Kafka story, how my fantasy evolved into an actual imaginary entity with a personality, and how I slowly began to grow in love with her. What started as a mere sexual attraction to giant roaches blossomed into a whirlwind romance, and that she became the love of my life, even though her existence was in my own mind. At first they thought I was doing a creepy joke, but I convinced them I was telling the truth. Well, they were afraid and disgusted. I have been a pariah at work ever since. Everybody steers clear of me. We used to have a good social life. Now people only speak to me for work-related reasons. Even working virtually now, nobody sends me a Slack message unless it is about work. I even heard a rumor that people went to HR, but they were of course told nothing could be done. I've lost my good work friends because of this, and it is indeed jeopardizing my career because my bosses think I am insane. I have ruined my friendships and future career prospects due to my honesty. I am thinking of starting to look for a new job, although it is difficult in the current environment. I can start fresh elsewhere, though. No matter what, I will be staying with my wife, Ogtha. For me, it is Ogtha forever. If you must know, I do hope that even if I am an old man, that one day the technology is invented to extract the Ogtha personality from my mind and implant it into a real external body, either of a genetically engineered or mechanical nature, and me and Ogtha can then experience genuine physical connection. But if she must remain within me, that is fine. Her love keeps me warm even on the coldest of nights. Thank you. So, I'm not here to shame anyone, and I actually don't understand. I mean, I understand the situation with his girlfriend. Like, he loves this imaginary, not even a person. He loves this imaginary thing. That's fine. Like, I understand why the girlfriend wouldn't like that and wouldn't want to be with him after that. Like, I wouldn't want to be with that either if he was imagining me as a giant roach after we had sex, which, by the way, would never happen. Um, you know, me. being asexual is the top reason for sure. But there are some others. But anyway, basically the point is I don't want to shame anyone, and I don't understand why this is a big deal with his coworkers. Like, why does he care? Why do they care, like, who he loves, and if he's pretending this, like, if he's pretending that he loves this imaginary cockroach or whatever, why is that a problem? I don't understand why people have such an issue with this. I don't know if he's actually mentally ill. I get the feeling he doesn't actually believe this, but he knows it's a fantasy, but he dives deep into it, which is exactly what happens with my stuffed animals. Like, I don't actually believe this stuff is real, but I dive into things so hard that I make the story real to myself. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like he said, it's harmless and it makes him happy. So, what is the big deal? Like, yeah, I understand your girlfriend's not going to want to be with you if you're fantasizing about someone else or whatever the whole time. Like, if you're fantasizing about a cockroach or whatever, then yeah, she's not going to want to have sex with you anymore or probably be in that relationship anymore. That's totally understandable. But what's not totally understandable is, like, I people are judged for the stupidest things. Like, whatever they like that's not considered conventional, they're just judged for it. Like, I actually have such, um, I love my stuffed animals and I love bringing them around and talking to them and stuff, but it's also this nervousness inside of me that, like, you know, and I know I need to get over it. I'm definitely doing a lot better at that. And I'm trying to get past it. Like, I'm at the point where that even hearing that stuff on Reddit doesn't bother me anymore. Like, when I post about my stuffed animals and people say dumb things, and I'm just like, that person's just gonna say what they're gonna say and believe what they're gonna believe, and, there's nothing that I can do about it. So I just, like, take it all in stride and stuff like that. And then I have my stuffed animals out and stuff when I'm going out and whatnot. And it's all good. I don't worry about it. I try not to worry about it at least. But there's always that understanding that this isn't what's socially acceptable, which is stupid because it doesn't matter if something's socially acceptable if you're having fun and enjoying yourself and not hurting anyone. Like, I'm not hurting anyone by carrying a stuffed animal around. How is that hurting you? If I walk by you in the grocery store and I have my doll with me, how is that bothering you? How is that a problem? The only way it would be a problem is if you just decided to be really fucking judgy about it. Like, so this whole thing with the giant cockroach, I just gotta say, I don't get it. I don't get why OP is having all these problems with his coworkers. I mean, I guess I do, because it's not considered conventional or normal or whatever. And honestly, we really need to just get rid of the word normal and make it, like, I don't know. It's absolutely ridiculous how far people take things out of proportion. People can't just be like, well, this guy is doing a weird thing, yeah, but it's harmless, it makes him happy, so we're gonna let it go and we're not gonna mention it anymore. And to let people's relationships be fucked up because of it. Like, this guy didn't fuck up his relationships because he told his coworkers he had an imaginary cockroach wife or whatever. His relation, the guys who are in the office are the ones letting the relationship be fucked up because what? Because he has this thing that he enjoys that doesn't happen to coincide with the normal that people do. I don't know. I know I'm gonna get some idiot. I like for sure. People are gonna, if people see this video, they're gonna say, you're so stupid. You know what you're talking about. That's bullshit. It's just not meant to be normal. It's not meant to be the way it goes. But you know what? I think as long as it makes him happy and he's not hurting anyone. So I think those are the only two things that should matter in this situation. And he just mentioned his wife casually. And what are you supposed to say to that? He yeah, I know he fucked up his relationship with his girlfriend, and he shouldn't have said anything, not because he was the bad guy in the situation, not because he did anything wrong, not because there's anything wrong with what he's doing, but because he should have known that, well, they are not going to take this well because they're going to think I'm fucking nuts or something. Like, it's not his fault, is what I'm saying. It's the other people's fault. Like, look, this guy has a relationship with this imaginary cockroach. That's fine. He's not hurting anybody, and it makes him happy. So, at the end of the day, that's what really matters. Like, being a mom to my stuffed animals it is what makes me happy. Regardless of whether or not you look at me and think I'm normal, regardless of whether or not you like it, I'm not gonna let that stop me. I like it and it makes me happy and I'm not gonna stop doing it. Just because, and especially with you guys on the internet, like I get a bunch of comments on Reddit all the time, mixed reactions, and I always get comments telling me that this is stupid, or even just saying what the hell to my stories or whatever. And I'm like, what? What? Like, there is nothing wrong with what I'm doing, but I really think he shouldn't have said anything. And can't people have interests and like they can't just be like, well, I'm gonna stop being interested in this thing now because it's not conventionally normal, which they shouldn't have to do anyway because that's really, really unhealthy and a bad thing that people shouldn't have to do. And just because something's not conventionally normal doesn't mean that you should be judged for it. It doesn't mean that you deserve to be judged for it. It doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. But people can control their reactions. So, if someone tells you that they have a giant imaginary cockroach girlfriend or wife or whatever, then just be like, okay, well, that's weird, but I'm really happy for you that you found something that you like and, keep on doing that if that's what you want to do. Um, and I don't really have much more to say than that. I love each and every one of you guys. Please don't forget to always be yourselves. Be good to yourselves and others. You are valid, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.